we sort of had a surprise from the commission that was studying whether to change the Medicaid enhancement tax. Now, this is the tax on hospitals that folks by now probably know. For 20 years, New Hampshire's been leveraging more than $1 billion in federal Medicaid money by taxing hospitals and then paying the hospitals back for all of the tax payments they made. It leverages additional Medicaid money for the state, and it's been very lucrative and continues to be. The only difference was in 2011, the Republican-led legislature, dealing with a tight budget, no longer paid hospitals back for that tax, and hospitals had to incur higher taxes of $200 million over the past 2 years. That led to layoffs and some closure of some services at several hospitals. This commission has been looking at what to do about this tax, because in response, hospitals have been paying less under the Medicaid enhancement tax, more than $20 million less this past year. There wasn't consensus on this commission, and mainly because it was made up of people who represent the hospitals who want either repeal or significant changes that will severely cut their tax liability, and it included the revenue commissioner, who obviously doesn't want to change the tax and risk a lot of loss of state revenue. The only thing they could agree to, and I think will pass next year, is to change the tax from one that is charged once a year on the hospitals to quarterly. That will provide a cash flow benefit, particularly to smaller hospitals that had to come up with that entire tax amount on a single day in late October each year. But the surprise was Senate President Chuck Morris and Senate Ways and Means Chairman Bob Odell have gotten behind, at least to the point of sponsoring legislation, to propose a tax on insurance plans, to make the insurance premium tax be applied on the purchase of health care at the hospitals and at their affiliated practices. Now, the Medicaid enhancement tax is 5.5%. The premium tax is only 2%. So you can certainly provide some relief to the hospitals, but you're probably not going to eliminate the Medicaid enhancement tax just by taxing insurance plans. And after all, at the end of the day, this new tax on insurance plans, these are public insurance plans. See, private insurance policies now pay the premiums tax, but public insurance policies, such as those for Medicaid, do not pay the tax. That new tax obviously is going to be paid by the taxpayers. This is government-provided insurance, and once you tax that transaction, that gets passed on in higher costs that taxpayers end up paying. Not a real popular thing to be proposing in an election year, but I think the Senate leadership on the Republican side feels a lot of pressure from these hospitals and wants to put this out there just for discussion purposes next year. As I've said before in other videos, I don't think anything substantial is going to happen on the Medicaid enhancement tax in 2014. I think in 2015, it's much more likely. And in part because by then, not only will you have a new governor and a new legislature, and the makeup of which we can't really be sure of right now, but more importantly, you're putting together the next state budget that could be even tighter than this one. So you're going to have to try, if you're going to repeal the tax on hospitals, you've got to replace that revenue of almost $100 million a year. And more importantly, by 2015, we could see the results of lawsuits in Superior Court that have challenged the constitutionality of this Medicaid enhancement tax. Two different lawsuits brought by several hospitals. If those lawsuits gain any traction at all, even in the lower court, it's going to force this legislature to really look seriously at systemically changing how they raise this revenue. But for next year, I think it's the status quo. We'll watch it for you here at naturaltelegraph.com.